My father, 74, retired hedge fund manager worth approximately $40 million. My brother Anne-Marie, 46, managing partner at a venture capital firm, married to money, lives in Greenwich. My sister Candice, 43, pharmaceutical sales executive, designer wardrobe, McMansion in the suburbs. And me, Nikki Zucker, 45, Rear Admiral lower half in the United States Navy, commanding a carrier strike group, living in base housing that my family thinks is assigned dormitories for career military. The dynamic: they believe I've wasted my potential. They believe military service is what people do when they can't succeed in the real world. They believe I need their guidance, their financial wisdom, their protection from my own poor judgment. The truth: I've been quietly building wealth through military pay, combat bonuses, and aggressive investment in defense contractor stocks and real estate for 20 years. My portfolio is worth approximately $11 million. They have no idea. The meeting, today at Dad's house, to discuss the family trust fund distributions. This should be interesting. I emerged onto the highway, heading toward the house I grew up in, a colonial in an affluent Connecticut suburb, the kind of place where wealth whispers rather than shouts. The kind of place where my uniform had always felt like a costume, like I was playing dress-up in someone else's life. My phone buzzed. A text from my sister: "Don't be late, this is important." As if I didn't know what important meant. As if I hadn't been excluded from important family financial discussions my entire adult life. As if today would be any different from the pattern we'd established over 2 decades. I'd joined the Navy at 23, right out of college, to my family's profound disappointment. Dad had wanted me to get my MBA, join his fund, learn real finance. My brother had wanted me to network, to leverage Dad's connections, to understand that success was about who you knew, not what you did. My sister had simply been confused. Why would anyone choose a government salary when private sector opportunities existed? I'd tried to explain: service, purpose, leadership, the chance to do something that mattered beyond quarterly earnings reports. They'd nodded politely and then spent the next 20 years treating me like I'd made a terrible mistake I was too proud to admit. The trust fund meeting was Dad's way of taking care of his children while he was still alive to see it. He'd been talking about it for months, restructuring his estate, ensuring everyone was provided for, teaching us about wealth management. My siblings had been involved in every discussion. I'd been informed via email that my presence was requested today at 2 p.m. I pulled into the driveway at 1:55. My brother's Tesla was already there, parked in the spot closest to the door. My sister's Range Rover sat beside it. I parked my 7-year-old Honda on the street. No point taking up valuable driveway space. Inside, the house smelled like expensive coffee and my father's cologne. Voices drifted from his home office. The room where he'd managed his fund for 30 years, where he'd taught my brother about market timing and asset allocation, where he'd mentored dozens of young analysts but never thought to ask me if I was interested in learning. I found them gathered around Dad's desk. Not the conference table in the corner, but his personal workspace, crowded with investment statements and market reports, and framed photos of him with various financial luminaries. Dad sat in his leather chair, my brother leaned against the bookshelf, my sister perched on the arm of the reading chair. And there, in the visitor's chair facing the desk, was Leonard Jarman, Dad's attorney for 30 years. "Nikki!" Dad's voice was hearty, performative. "Right on time. Good, let's get started." I nodded to everyone, took my place standing near the door. No one offered me a seat. Leonard opened a folder. "As you know, your father has been working on restructuring his estate to provide support for his children, while maintaining the principal for future generations. We've established individual trust arrangements tailored to each of your situations." I watched my brother's face, the slight smile, the relaxed posture. He already knew what was coming. They'd discussed this multiple times, probably, without me. "Anne-Marie," Leonard continued, "your quarterly distribution will be $10,000, indexed for inflation, from your designated trust of $3 million. This provides supplemental income while maintaining growth potential." My brother nodded like this was exactly what he'd expected. "Candice, same structure, $10,000 quarterly from your $3 million trust." My sister smiled. "Thank you, Daddy." Then Leonard slid a single paper toward me across the desk. I picked it up. "Your father established a different arrangement for you, Nikki. Given your circumstances, he felt a more conservative approach was prudent. Your trust is $500,000 with annual distributions of $1,000. I read the document. $1,000 annually, not quarterly, annually. The distributions require approval from your brother, who will serve as trustee. He'll review your financial situation each year and determine if release is appropriate. I looked up. Anne-Marie was smirking. That particular expression he'd perfected in childhood. The one that said he knew something you didn't. That he was winning some game you hadn't realized you were playing. "Can't have you blowing it all at once, right?" he said. Dad nodded from his chair, his expression a mixture of concern and satisfaction. "We want to protect you, Nikki. You've never had to manage significant money. The military provides for your basic needs, but wealth requires expertise. Anne-Marie will help you make wise decisions." The words hung in the air like a test. Like they were waiting for me to object, to argue, to prove that I was exactly as financially irresponsible as they'd decided I must be. I'd spent 23 years commanding sailors, managing budgets in the millions, coordinating operations that cost more per day than my siblings would earn in their lifetimes. I'd negotiated with foreign militaries, advised admirals on resource allocation, testified before Congress on defense spending. I held a master's degree in strategic studies and another in international relations. And my father had decided I needed my brother's permission to access $1,000 a year. "I see," I said. My voice was very calm, too calm. Leonard looked uncomfortable. "There's a provision for emergency distributions if you can demonstrate need. Demonstrate need to my brother." "Well, yes. As trustee, The doorbell rang. "I'll get it," my sister said, rising. "Probably the gardener about that estimate." She left. The rest of us sat in awkward silence. I reread the trust document, each word sharper than the last. 500,000, while my siblings got 3 million each. 1,000 per year while they got 10,000 per quarter. Requiring my brother's approval for my own money while they had full control of theirs. The message was clear. You are less. You are incapable. You need supervision. Candice returned, looking confused. "Nikki, there's someone here for you. Says he needs a signature?" I frowned. "I'm not expecting anything." "Well, he's asking for Admiral Zucker." The office went very still. I walked to the front door. A courier in a standard delivery uniform held a large envelope with a familiar logo, my investment firm's insignia embossed in the corner. "Admiral Zucker, I have your quarterly dividend check. Requires signature." Behind me, I heard footsteps. My family had followed, curious about who would address me as Admiral. I signed the tablet, took the envelope, the courier nodded and left. "Dividend check." My father's voice was puzzled. "From what?" I opened the envelope slowly, pulled out the check. The amount was printed in clear black type, $2,400,000. My brother's smirk vanished. "Quarterly dividend," I said, my voice still that same eerie calm. "From my investment portfolio, defense contractors mostly, Lockheed, Raytheon, General Dynamics. I've been buying since I made lieutenant commander. Turns out having direct knowledge of defense procurement trends is useful for stock selection." Anne-Marie reached for the check. I pulled it back. "Don't touch. That can't be real." "It's real. This is from my equity positions. Doesn't include my real estate holdings. I own 4 rental properties near military bases, or my retirement accounts, or the bonds. Should I go on?" My father's face had gone pale. "You have millions?" 11 million, approximately. Could be 12 by now. Market's been good. I folded the check, slid it back into the envelope. "So the trust arrangement you've proposed, Dad? The one where I get $1,000 a year subject to my brother's approval? I think I'll decline." "You've been hiding this," Candice said, her voice accusatory. "All these years, you let us think." "Let you think what? That I was poor, struggling, in need of your financial wisdom?" The anger I'd been controlling for 23 years began to leak through. "I never said I was poor. You decided that. You decided that military service meant failure. That government salary meant inadequacy. That my life was somehow less than yours because I chose service over profit." "We were trying to help," Dad said. "Were you? Or were you trying to feel superior? To maintain some hierarchy where you gotta be the wise patriarch dispensing resources to his less capable children?" "That's not fair, Nikki." "Fair?" I looked at Leonard. Is it fair that my trust is 1/6 the size of my siblings, that I need permission to access it? That you structured it like I'm a child who can't be trusted with money? My father felt I was incompetent. Because I wouldn't discuss my finances with him. Because I didn't ask for advice. Because I built my life and my wealth independently, instead of playing into the family dynamic where everyone comes to Dad for guidance. Anne-Marie found his voice. You could have told us. Why? So you could do what? Offer me advice on investment strategies? Explain wealth management to someone who's been building a portfolio for 2 decades? No thanks. I learned everything I needed to know by watching Dad make the same mistake over and over. What mistake? Dad's voice was sharp. Assuming that people who don't ask for your help need it. Assuming that different choices are wrong choices. Assuming that your way is the only way to build wealth and success. I looked at each of them in turn. You know what? I've been standing here feeling righteous and angry about how you underestimated me, but I did the same thing to you. They blinked at me. I assumed you were shallow, that you cared only about money and status, that you couldn't possibly understand what I do or why it matters. I hid my success because I didn't trust you to value it. I judged you for judging me, and that makes me just as guilty. The silence was heavy now, thick with years of assumptions on both sides. I'm a rear admiral, I said quietly, lower half, which means 1 star. I command the carrier strike group, 5,000 sailors, 6 ships, 70 aircraft. I'm responsible for maritime security operations across 2 oceans. I brief the Joint Chiefs. I coordinate with allied navies. I make decisions that affect international relations. And I've been terrified to tell you any of this because I assumed you'd find a way to dismiss it, to make it smaller than it is. We wouldn't have, Candice stopped. Okay, we might have. You would have, I said, because that's been the pattern. I don't fit into your understanding of success, so I must be failing. And I accepted that pattern instead of challenging it because it was easier to be angry than to be vulnerable. Dad sat down heavily in his desk chair. $11 million. Approximately. From military pay, and smart investing, and living below my means, and not needing to signal wealth through cars and houses and... I gestured at the office, at the expensive furniture and the framed photos with powerful people. This. Anne-Marie was staring at the envelope in my hands. That check, that's more than my annual income. It's 1/4 dividend, I get 4 per year. You make more than I do. Probably, but that's not the point. The point is that we've all been making assumptions about each other based on surface appearances. You assumed I was struggling because I drive an old car and live in base housing. I assumed you were vapid because you care about designer brands and luxury vacations. We're all wrong. Leonard cleared his throat. So, the trust arrangement? I'll sign whatever paperwork declines my portion. Split my share between Anne-Marie and Candice. They can have it. Nikki, that's not necessary, Dad said. It is, though. Because accepting that trust means accepting the premise behind it, that I need your protection, your oversight, your approval to manage money. And I don't. I never did. But neither did you need me to be poor to feel generous. We've been playing roles for each other instead of being honest. My sister spoke up, her voice small. I thought you were happy. In the Navy. I thought you liked the simplicity of not worrying about money. I am happy. But not because I don't worry about money. Because I built something that matters to me. Because I command ships and lead people. And do work that has purpose beyond profit. That's real to me. Just like your work is real to you. But you let us patronize you, Anna-Marie said, for years. All the advice we gave, the concern, I know. And I let it happen because fighting it meant revealing that I'd succeeded on different terms than the ones you valued. Which meant admitting I cared what you thought. Which I did. I do. I looked at Dad. I wanted you to be proud of me. Not proud of my bank balance, but proud of what I'd accomplished. And when you weren't, when you kept treating me like I'd failed, I decided to protect myself by hiding how well I'd actually done. I am proud, Dad said. His voice cracked slightly. I just didn't understand. A rear admiral? You command a carrier group? Yes. Why didn't you tell me? Why didn't you ask? I countered. In 23 years, you never once asked what rank I held, what my responsibilities were, what my day-to-day work involved. You decided I was in logistics or admin or some vague support role because that fit your understanding of what someone who wouldn't discuss their work must be doing. He had no answer for that. But, I continued, softer now, I also never volunteered the information because I was afraid. Afraid you'd find a way to diminish it. Afraid you'd explain how a real career in finance would have been better. So I hid, and hiding meant you couldn't see me, which meant you filled in the blanks with your own assumptions. Candice sat down on the couch. This is so messed up. Yes, I agreed, but it's our mess. And we all contributed to it. Leonard stood. I'm gonna give you all some privacy. John, let me know about the trust arrangements. He left quickly, grateful to escape the family drama. We stood in silence for a long moment. Finally, Anne-Marie spoke. I'm sorry, for the smirk, for the comment about blowing the money, for all of it. I'm sorry too, Candice added, for assuming you needed help, for treating you like you were less successful because your success looked different. I nodded. And I'm sorry for judging you, for assuming you were shallow, for hiding instead of trusting you with the truth. Dad looked at the trust documents on his desk. These are wrong, all of them, not just yours, all of them. I've been trying to control you through money, trying to keep you tied to me through distributions and oversight. It's not about protecting you, it's about, he stopped, struggling, about still mattering to you. Dad, I said gently, you matter to us because you're our father, not because you have money, not because you give us guidance, just because you're you. But I wanted to be useful. You are useful, just not in the way you thought. We don't need you to manage our money. We need you to be our father, to ask us about our lives, to be interested in us, not in fixing us. He nodded slowly, then looked at me. Tell me about commanding a carrier group. And I did. For the next 3 hours, sitting in that office, I told him about the work I'd never discussed. About command responsibility and maritime operations, and the weight of decisions that affected thousands of lives. About briefing admirals and coordinating with allied navies, and the satisfaction of doing something larger than myself. My siblings listened too, asking questions, genuinely trying to understand. And I asked them about their work, really asked not just polite questions but genuine curiosity about what drove them, what they found meaningful, what challenges they faced. We ordered pizza for dinner, not fancy catering, just pizza from the place we'd gone to as kids. We ate in the kitchen, and for the first time in 20 years, we talked like people who actually wanted to know each other. It wasn't perfect. It wasn't a fairy tale reconciliation where everything was suddenly fixed. But it was honest. And honesty, after years of assumptions and performance and protective hiding, felt like fresh air. As I drove home that night, the dividend check sat in my bag, evidence of a secret I no longer needed to keep. My phone buzzed with text from my siblings, awkward but genuine attempts to maintain the connection we'd started rebuilding. Anne-Marie, so about that trust arrangement, want to help me invest instead of the other way around? Candice, dinner next month? I want to hear more about your work, real questions, I promise. Dad, I looked up what a rear admiral does. I'm proud of you, should have said that 20 years ago. I didn't respond right away, just drove through the Connecticut suburbs where wealth whispered and status mattered and success had always been measured in zeros on a bank statement. I'd spent 2 decades hiding my success because I didn't trust my family to value it. They'd spent the same time underestimating me because they couldn't understand it. We'd all been wrong. We'd all been right. We'd all been trapped in patterns of our own making. The revelation hadn't fixed everything, but it had broken the pattern. And sometimes breaking the pattern is enough. Sometimes seeing each other clearly, flaws and all, is more valuable than any trust fund. Sometimes admitting you were wrong is the first step toward